Guten Tag and hello. Welcome back to the Ranger Stronghold scenario replay. Today we're going to be talking about the German units that are associated with this scenario. We're going to talk about what we're going to think about as a German player when we're setting up our units. Things we're going to talk about how best to use our units throughout this scenario, and kind of cover some of the basics with our units to get a gist of what we think might be best to use with them. So if we look at our units, the first thing, let's actually look at our scenario card here. If we look at our units here, we see that in this scenario, the German player is going to set up and move first. So we're going to set up our units first. So we have to think about that, because after we set up, then the Americans are going to get to see how we're set up. And then once he's finished setting up, we're actually going to get to move our units first. Again, this video will be talking about the German player and what he should be thinking, and some of the thoughts that should cross your mind when you're setting up different scenarios yourself out there with the advanced squad leader system. We look at it, you can see that we have 12 full squads coming on board, 4 different leaders, a medium machine gun, 5 light machine guns, and 2 tanks. If we quickly glance at our opponent's units, he's got 5 elite 747s, full squads, 1 half squad, 2 leaders, 2 medium machine guns, and 4 bazookas. We can quickly see that we double him in both squad numbers and leaders. So we out-firepower him immensely. We should be able to, with our leaders, we should be able to hopefully keep all our units good order and recover them with rally attempts. We do have only 1 medium machine gun compared to his 2 medium machine guns, but to make up for that, we have 5 light machine guns. Our medium machine guns are better than his, 5 firepower as opposed to 4 firepower, and we have 2 armored fighting vehicles, Panzer IV F2s, I believe is what they are, and we will look at them in detail here in a minute. We know that our panzers will not be able to be hurt by anything as long as we're not crew exposed, besides having him close combat our tanks with his squads and leaders, and his bazookas. So we have to be wary of his bazookas and his squads. This medium machine gun can't do enough firepower against our tank to do any damage to it as long as we're not crew exposed. As far as snipers numbers goes, we have a very low sniper number of 2. In fact, if we are unfortunate, our sniper could go completely away if the American can counter our sniper, as opposed to his sniper number, which is 4, which is very respectable. Our ELR number is also 3 compared to his ELR number. We only have first and second lines units, squads, full squads, so we have to decide our chances of becoming ELR. 7 plus 3 is basically going to be about a 10, unless they're stacked with the leader that might give us a bonus. So some of our squads might be reduced down. Our second squads can become conscripts, or first lines can become second lines. Like I said, we do have 4 leaders, so that's good for us as a German player. Medium machine gun, which has got rate of fire of 2, firepower of 5, and we got 5 light machine guns, so 5 of our squads can be running around with light machine guns as well. If we look at our vehicles on the scenario card, it should be noted that on the back of the counter for the vehicles has got all the information for the different vehicle, and I want to cover some of that here. If we go back into our Vassal module, if we try to flip over this counter to the other side, there is basically what I'm trying to get at is there is no information on the back side of this counter. What you have to do is right click and go to the Show Info button. The Show Info will give us the information about this vehicle that is normally on the back of the counter. The back of this counter in Vassal is just a rec side. So in this case, we have a CS6, a SD6, an S8, A52/43/34, and an SZ. So let's cover what all that information means so that those of you who are new to the Advanced Squad Leader system, or those of you who aren't sure, we can talk about them. If we look, I've just copied our little Vassal information into a document here. And here's our armored fighting vehicle right there. And we've got a lot of information we need to cover. As you can see, first thing that's on the Vassal, or should be noted on the back side of a counter, is the CS number. The CS number stands for Crew Survival, as section 5.6 of the rulebook. On the rec side of each of the vehicle is a CS number representing an abstract calculation of the crew size and its chance to escape the vehicle sufficiently intact and make it a viable unit on the battlefield. After a vehicle has been eliminated, after it's been destroyed, the vehicle owner will make a final die roll less than or equal to its crew survival number. Then you're going to place a vehicle crew counter beneath the wreck. Expending all remaining movement vectors is subject to the effects of hazardous movements. It should be noted that you only get crew survival if the vehicle was not turned into a burning wreck. So if it was turned into a burning wreck because it was either destroyed severely, or whatever the case may be, if it's turned into a burning wreck, then there is no chance of crew survival. Only crew survival will happen if it's just turned into a wreck. Surviving PRC, passenger, riders, and crews are not subject to any collateral attack from the shot or firepower that destroyed their vehicle, but it can be subject to residual firepower attack during that phase only if the residual firepower is not the cause or the result of the vehicle's destruction. Notice there's a +1 die roll modifier to this crew survival die roll if they were broken or under the effects of being shocked or stunned at the time the vehicle was eliminated. Also of note, of great importance, if the CS number is in lowercase, that vehicle has no crew survival possibilities, but you're going to use that CS number for passengers and riders. So in this case, we do have a large CS number. So if this vehicle is turned into a wreck, if we roll 6 or less on 2 6-sided dice, we will get to place a crew counter underneath the wreck of the vehicle. The next thing on our list is SD6. SD6 is actually 13.1, and we're talking about vehicle smoke dispensers. There's SD, which are smoke dischargers, SM, which is smoke mortars, smoke pots, and the ever popular Neffenjachtenjiffernaferwerfer. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that word because I couldn't tell you what it is if I had to. These are all vehicle or smoke dispensers. An AFV is equipped with only such if the reverse side of the counter contains the appropriate following information. In this case, it's SD whatever number. In this case, we have ST6. So we can place smoke dischargers on equal to or less than a 6 usage. By the way, this usage numbers replace normal breakdown and ammunition depletion rules, but a smoke counter is not considered a weapon. It's not considered a weapon, so they have some special rules on that. 13.2, an AFV may attempt to disperse smoke once per player turn during the movement phase, but only if that AFV is unabandoned, its crew is not shocked, stunned, or broken, and if the AFV and the PRCs have not yet fired, including bounding fire or defensive first fire, any weapon during that player turn. Firing a smoke dispenser costs 1 movement point if you're doing it during your own movement phase, but there is no movement point cost if you fail the results. The movement point expenditure during your opponent's movement phase, you do not need to spend that movement point to do that. Smoke dispenser usage attempt can be made following any movement point or movement factor expenditure by your opposing unit in the vehicle's line of sight as its defensive first fire. Again, note, you can't do that if you've already fired, or if your PRCs have already fired, your bounding fire, or defensive first fire. You cannot use your smoke dispensers, or smoke dischargers. So you should note that you cannot do that. It must be the first thing that you do. Firing. When a player wishes his AFV to attempt smoke dispenser use, he makes a die roll. If the final die roll is less than or equal to its usage number, it is fired and a smoke counter is placed as per the applicable rule for the type of dispenser used. If the final die roll is greater than the usage number, it didn't fire. The crew basically didn't have enough time to do it, but it should be noted the player is free to have this ASV attempt such use again in another player turn. So unlike a normal ammunition depletion number, the smoke dispenser is not considered a weapon, so it doesn't go away, it just doesn't fire that turn, and you're free to do it again. Of course, if you're buttoned up, so you're not crew exposed, you're buttoned up, you get the +1 die roll modifier to your check. So in this case, if we look back at our thing here, smoke dispenser is a 6 or less. If we were able to roll 6 or less after all of our modifiers, then we fired our smoke dischargers. I keep saying dispensers, but it should be either way. Should be and of course we have a +1 modifier if we're buttoned up, in this case if we wish to. 13.31, a successful fired SD places a white dispersed smoke at the base level of the AFV's own hex. So basically we're throwing smoke out with our smoke dispensers, smoke dischargers. If we roll 6 or less, it'll make our tank that much harder to hit in case of an emergency. The next numbers is S, I believe that's an 8, S8, and we need to look at, that is its smoke number. It doesn't look like I have the information for the smoke here, so that's basically if you wish to fire smoke, you're just going to try and fire it through your main armament, shoot at a hex, try and put smoke into that hex. There are some rules on that, which we'll probably get into before we start the actual scenario. The big fancy numbers here, A, 524334. What does all this mean? For those of you who are new to ASL, that is your APCR and APDS numbers. These are your special ammunition that you might be able to pull up through your tank. It should be noted that these depletion numbers, if you fail a depletion number with your APCR or APDS, they go away. You no longer can roll for them. If it's equal to your number, then you can fire that one. That shot will have it, but your tank will no longer have that ammunition. And if you roll less than that number, you will have it and can continue rolling for it. So how do we figure out what we have? Well, we have an A524334. And what that means is, if you look at the little numbers, that means in 1942, our special ammunition APCR is a 5 or less in 1942. In 1943, our special ammunition depletion number is a 4 or less. And in 1944, our special ammunition number is 3 or less. So if we go back to our scenario card and take a look at what year it is, this happened in 14th of September 1943. 1943. So if we look back at our chart here, this little 3 represents 1943. So if we wanted to shoot our special ammunition, it would have to roll a 4 or less. If we rolled exactly a 4, we would have that ammunition for that shot, but we would not be able to have it anymore. If we rolled a 2 or a 3, then we could shoot it during that shot, and we would have it for another shot. We could try for the ammunition again. And if we rolled a 5 or higher, we would not have it for that shot, and we could not try for that APCR anymore. So the special ammunition depletion numbers, that's what these represent. 1942, 1943, 1944. And these are the numbers you need to roll less than or equal to. If you roll equal to them, then you get that special ammunition for that shot, and you will not have any more. If you roll less than the number, you can have that special ammunition for that shot, and you can try again. And if you roll higher than the big number, then you will not have that ammunition. It's not available, so you won't get that ammunition anymore in that vehicle. And last but not least, we have the SZ. SZ, if we scroll down to my little cheat sheet here, the SZ stands for Schützens. Schützens, I'm not sure most people know the name of them, but you probably have seen them if you look at many pictures. We're talking about Schützens. We're talking about the armor plating that surrounds some of the German vehicles throughout different parts of the war. These are the Schützens. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Basically, they're armor plating that's going to help protect the vehicle. Certain German vehicles built or refitted after a certain period have soft steel plates called Schützens attached at various points, during the purpose of which is to prematurely detonate heat projectiles. In this case, this is very good for the German player. If we look back at our scenario card, we notice the bazookas here are going to be shooting heat ammunition at us. So if he tries to hit us, and aside that we have our Schützens, then we're going to get the benefit of the Schützens because he's shooting a heat weapon at us. So how do we know where our Schützens are located? Very simply, they have them on the hull and turret sides and rear. the hull sides, and the turret side and rear. So the turret side and rear has them, but just the hull sides have them. So the rear of the hull does not have them. The turret front does not have them. The front of the vehicle does not have them. But the turret side and rear does, and the hull does as well. If it's a non-turreted AFV, I should mention that that was only a turreted AFV, but if it's a non-turreted AFV, it will have them only on the sides of both the hull and the superstructure. In this case, we do have a turreted AFV, that's why this is underlined. Hull sides and turret rear and sides and rear. So we have some protection for our vehicles against the American bazookas. 11.21 talks about some availability of them. Talks about the vehicles that could possibly have them, blah blah blah. 11.211 optional availability, if you want to look at that rule. Basically, what we're more important looking at is 11.23 and 11.22. You can lose your Schutzens if you enter a building or wood obstacle, unless on a previously placed TB or while crossing a road hex side. So there is some possibility if you start driving around in some rubble, actually rubble's another one, building or wood obstacle, they can be ripped off your vehicle. So in this case, we don't want to be driving around in the rubble or the buildings or the woods and get our Schutzens ripped off. And what do they do? Well, most importantly, any heat round, including all SCWs, hitting a target facing protected by the Schutzen causes a doubling of the lower die roll on the 2-kill die roll. So if your opponent hits your vehicle and he hits it on the side with the Schutzen, he hits the vehicle, then he goes for his 2-kill number, and let's say he rolls a 3 and a 5 on his dice. If he hits the side with the Schutzen, 3 is going to be doubled, so the 3 is going to become a 6. 6 plus 5 would be an 11 total. As opposed to if he hits this without a Schutzen side and he rolls a 3 and a 5, he would have a total of 8. So you can see that doubling of the lower dice can become quite helpful for protecting the vehicle against heat attacks. So again, crew survival number, your smoke discharger dispenser number, your smoke number, your APCR or APDS, which are your special ammunition. I was going to type up more of the rules on this, but obviously didn't get a chance to complete that. But basically, when you're looking at your special ammunition, if it's an A number, it's APCR, and if it's D, it's APDS, I believe, are the two designations there. The little number represents the year, so if it's 1942, 1943, 1944, the big number represents the number you need to roll lower than. If you roll equal to that number, you have that ammunition for that shot. And of course, when you use your APCRs, you're going to have a much better, higher chance of inflicting damage. In this case, since the enemy doesn't have any tanks, we're not too worried about our APCR or APDS special ammunition. We're more concerned with our Schutzens, which could help us protect us against the American Panzer, the American bazookas. Alright, so that's kind of setup of our special units here. Looked at our vehicle, looked at our machine guns. We got 4 leaders, just as a basic overview. We got 2 pretty good leaders, 8-1 and a 9-2, and 2 okay leaders, 8-0 and a 7-0. Remember, if we have a leader and they're directing a fire attack, then we won't cower. So if we had a leader shooting our medium machine gun, it's not going to cower. And with its rate of fire of 2, we might be able to fire it several times. So we want to make sure we stack a leader with our medium machine gun. As far as comparing our units, we have many more than the American units. It's squad-wise. The problem is we just don't have as good quality. The American has much better quality. His units are 7 morale plus 5 for the ELR. So he's going to have 12 or higher. The ELR is just a base. Well, our ELR is a 7 plus 3, which is a 10 for base. So we have a slightly better chance of ELRing our squads. If we look at our actual scenario now that we understand our units, zoom out here a little bit, we know we got to set up here and anywhere on this side of the board behind the black squares. We need to secure these 50 hexes right here, and we have to make sure the American does not end up having a unit inside of there that's unbroken at the end of only 6 turns. We only have 6 turns. We have to secure that whole area in 6 turns. So we have quite a bit of job ahead of us. Not only do we need to secure these areas as the German player, we have to make sure the American can't run somebody else in there at the last minute and try to steal this victory away from us. So not only do we have to kill everybody or break everybody inside this hex, we need to make sure they can't rally. We need to make sure he can't get anybody in. So we need to not only secure this area, but we need to fortify this area within 6 turns. So that way the American can't run anybody in there at the last minute and try to steal victory away. So with only 6 turns, it's going to be quite a task. We do have a lot of firepower, so we can use that to our advantage, but we can't just storm up there because he will probably, if he's a smart, intelligent player, he'll probably keep all of his units in the back, out of sight, so we can get concealment on him, so we won't know which of his units have the bazookas. Our tanks are only afraid of squads that are going to try to close combat us, or if he gets a chance to shoot his bazookas at us. Our squads otherwise can, or our tanks can otherwise just roll up there and shoot away at them, hopefully mangling them to smithereens. We will, if you're looking for the actual numbers, we're going to talk about the armor numbers and the 2-kill numbers of the bazooka and the tank. We're going to actually talk about that in the American video, so be sure to watch that one as well. Watch the American video to get the basic 2-kill numbers and the armor facings and everything, so we understand our numbering. But as the German player, we have superior number of squads. We have tanks, which can help us root out any of the Americans that are going to be trying to secure that area. We do have a 3 bow machine gun and a 5 coaxial machine gun. So we have up to 8 firepower in machine guns, which we can use to rip apart the Americans as well. So as a German player, if we're thinking about this for setup wise, we only have 6 turns. We need to have as much area secured as possible within maybe the first figure 2 or 3 turns to get here, and then 2 turns to secure the area, and then maybe on our last turn, hopefully the game plan will be to secure the perimeter with as the best units we have available to us, and then hopefully on the last turn we can keep the American from running in there. Fortunately for us, if we look at the map board, he doesn't have too much cover around the perimeter. There's some located in the middle of the victory location, but if we can root out those Americans, secure a perimeter, and keep the rest of them out, we should be able to win this scenario. Things of note: we make sure we have to take over this hex here. I'm going to move these off board for just a second. Getting this hex here could be quite dangerous if he's got units in there. Making sure we can secure this building here would be very advantageous. Again, and we're just talking about the German player here. We only care about the German player during this video. We care less about the Americans. Things we have to think about is this hex line here and this hex line here. So with this woods being in the way and we're coming this way, I'm more concerned about this row here. If he was to have units even all the way back to say B4, he could CX them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could CX up there, and then in the advanced phase he could advance up into there and win the game. So even units on the outskirts, all the way on the edge of the map to the north and the south, we have to be afraid of them at the last turn. So when we're securing our victory area, we need to make sure there's no holes, which is going to be a tough task to do, but hopefully we've got enough firepower that we can quickly and easily overwhelm the Americans, push them out, plow straight across. I think we'll have probably one squad coming straight across this way, and then the other squad maybe linking up with a flanking attempt, coming in and then flanking up. And then once we have this location and this location, then pushing them back out, and then securing our last perimeters and keeping the Americans out. Fortunately for us, he can't set anybody up that's hip or hidden, so we get to see where all of his units are at all times. We might not know what they are, but we do know where they are, and that's half the battle. So as the German player, time is not on our side. 6 turns might seem like a long time, but it's not by the time we have to get all the way across there. Our tanks, some of their special abilities, the special APCRs, really not that important in this scenario. The smoke dispenser is not going to be that important in this scenario unless he comes charging at us with the bazooka. We do have the Schutzens, so that should help us protect from getting blown up by the Americans. And hopefully, with our sheer weight of numbers and our sheer firepower, we can tear them apart. Unfortunately, like I said, we're going to have to probably set up pretty close to the front. One thing we do want to keep in mind is the Americans can set up as close as 2 rows ahead. So we want to make sure our vehicles are back a few spots so we can't set up bazookas and just take our tanks out right off the bat. Even though we get to move first, we want to make sure that our tanks aren't quite up on the front lines and are back far enough that he can't get a cheap kill right off the beginning. If he's willing to risk a few squads, that's fine with us, because he doesn't have many to play with, and the more we can take out, we'd be more than willing to trade in a squad for a squad. That would be very advantageous for us. We would sacrifice 1 or maybe even 2 of our squads for one of his. It's the less he'll have at the end. Well, that's some of the things that we thought about as the German player. Hopefully, for the fatherland, we can win this scenario and take back what is rightfully ours. Well, be sure to tune in and watch the video on the American setup, because we're actually going to delve into what kind of chance these Panzers has against the bazookas, and delve into what the Americans are thinking about in this scenario. Well, until then, this is the Ranger Stronghold scenario replay, and this is your host, ID Jester. Looking forward to getting this started. Till then, take care.